Welcome to Saving the Association. It's been a little while, but we're back. Today, we're joined by our guest, Matt Morgan. Matt, a high-level scorer who came out of Cornell and then would go on to play in the G League and then overseas, where he currently is. Joining us from where today, Matt?
Bologna, Italy.
Very nice. Not just a delicious lunch meat, but a wonderful place to live, I'm sure.
Yeah, trust me, I've called it bologna for the first 2 weeks, but it's Bologna.
Oh, that's great. And then, after college, you've had a lot of success in scoring over there and become a proficient guard in Europe. And we're thrilled to have you. Really quick, want to get this out of the way. We are sponsored today by Foot Locker. Foot Locker, we are still in business. Come see us at Foot Locker. All right, so we like to do something called the full court press, where Brett and I we're going to come at you with some questions early on. Brett was typically chilling at half court when we played together in high school for this part of the press. More of the guards doing this work, but Brett's going to take a more active role here, and we'll get into it.
Perfect.
Perfect. Let's
So,
do it.
so Matt, who was your favorite NBA team growing up?
So I'm gonna be honest. I was a Miami Heat fan starting growing up because I loved Dwayne Wade, and then the big three happened with LeBron and Bosh. So I was huge Miami Heat fan. But my favorite player was always Steph Curry. And while the Heat were doing their thing, Steph was in college and had ankle problems and all that. So when the Heat finally decided to break up, I, being the fan that I was like, I'm not going to stay in Miami because this is going to go downhill quick. So I then switched to the Golden State Warriors, and I've been Warriors fan since probably I don't know when they broke up, 2013, 2012.
Yeah,
So yeah, Golden State Warriors.
Okay.
awesome.
Not a bandwagon fan. He can remember some days of maybe Baron Davis, Andres Biedrins,
Yep.
O'Donnell Foyle. Brett and I are we're pretty nerdy about some of those throwbacks. So I'm guessing your current favorite player is still Steph then, and you had a good time watching the other night. I saw that on your Instagram stories, by the way. So
Yeah, he's amazing. He's been my favorite player for years. If you ask me, he's the greatest basketball player ever, but obviously up for debate. But greatest shooter ever. He puts on the show every time. So yeah, been a fan. Try to emulate my game. He's a man.
Yeah, he's definitely a showman. That's for sure. So who do you think is the best player that you ever played against? Who's the greatest player you ever played against?
I think probably Victor Wembanyama. Playing
Oh,
against yeah. Yeah, I don't
casual
know if y'all knew that.
Wemby drop. Yeah.
Yeah, I played against him probably 4 or 5 times when I played in France. It started in preseason. We met them in a championship game. But obviously we played before them the day before, and they were like, all right, we're about to play like the future #1 draft pick. So I think it's a guard or a forward or something. Then he walks out. I'm like, oh my God, okay. So we played against him the next day. We ended up losing by like 5 or something. But like I remember mutual respect after that. But first real game we played was in Le Mans, France, where I played with MSB, and he was with his French team the year before he got drafted. And they just got back from Vegas to showcase where him and Scoot Henderson played against each other. And we were their very next game in France. And I remember I was like, I got to take this game like personal. And me and him went at it. I think I finished with like 35. He had like 26 and 12 and 6 blocks or something crazy. And yeah, after that, I was like, yeah, this is definitely the best player I've ever played against for sure.
Did you get any? Did he get any of your shots? Did he?
No, surprisingly, I had 2 layups on him. There's
Oh,
one that's on my Instagram. It was a fast break. I kind of stopped at the 3-point line thinking, nah, he's going to fall for my fake, but he didn't. And then I went to the rim, little body contact, finished it. He almost got to it, but I made it. And there was another one, like a floater. I kind of caught him off guard. I just threw it up there real quick, and he couldn't get to it. So those are my 2 buckets on him. I can say he's never blocked me.
as a
Wow.
big Wemby fan, I gotta ask one more thing. Like, can you just maybe describe? And he obviously was younger than, but just the freak of nature athlete body he has, like what that was like playing against that in person.
I mean, it's nothing like you've ever seen before. Obviously, the European style is a little different because he can sit in the paint, especially if you have a big who can't shoot. So it's literally like having someone, as you see on T, like 7'5", 8 something foot wingspan, just standing at the rim waiting for you. And your team was so smart that they just pressure you, force you to the rim, and it's like I don't want to get my shot blocked by him. So like you see a lot of people go down there, stop, and then turn around. It was a lot of that for us, but he's ridiculous, especially the freedom that he played with. He could shoot, he could dribble, obviously block shots, post up. First time we played him, he wasn't even on the scout report. We were like, we're not going to stop him. We're going to stop everybody else. We ended up losing in overtime, I think. And the second time we played them, we put him on there, tried to force him into some different things that he was uncomfortable with, but he proved very quickly he was comfortable doing it. So, I mean, 7'5" and can do everything. He's gonna be one of the best players to ever play.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I've also never been blocked by Wemby, for the record. So I'm happy to be in
Keep it
that.
that way. Trust me, it's not as fun
Okay.
as it looks.
It's a good chance I will keep it that way. So you mentioned you had 35 against him. That's probably got to be, given to what Victor's going to be, one of your best stat lines ever. But aside from that, post sixth grade, what's been your best stat line you've had?
Uh, it would either have to be I had 12 threes in a Division II game in Turkey, my first year overseas. I think I finished with 43 points. Or in the championship of in that same season in Turkey, I think I was 1 assist away from a triple double in the championship series, like game 2. We needed to win. We were down 1-0. We ended up winning in overtime. I think I finished with 20 or 30, like 10, 11 rebounds and 9 assists. So I'd probably say those two would be my best.
Well, that's awesome. The win always makes the stats even better, right?
Yeah, I only pick ones that I want. I have some
Yeah.
where I lost, but
Yeah.
I don't really remember those.
So, Matt, how would you describe your game if you were to compare it to an NBA player? Like, whose game does yours most model, do you think?
So I have my heart and my head. So in my heart is Steph Curry because I like to do a lot of shooting, a lot of off ball movement. Um, Playing at Cornell taught me a lot about how to make reads without the ball in my hands. So being able to move, shoot, finish at the rim, dribble. So watching a lot of Steph Curry, a lot of film on him. But I think I would compare my game to someone who's over here now, Shane Larkin. He went to Miami University,
Yeah.
played in the league for a little while, but he's a smaller guard over here, but he dominates, just the pace of the game, the getting other people involved while also being aggressive. So I think those are the two that I think I watch a lot, and I watch a lot of film on and try to take little parts of what they do and add it to, what I'm already good at.
That's very nice. You are in the international game, but obviously grew up watching the NBA. And I'm sure, you watched stuff the other night. You still see a good amount of NBA. Some of your contemporaries have played there or are still there. What rule would you like to add to the NBA or take away, especially given that you've been in another league?
I love this question because my favorite answer is the European rule where once the ball hits the rim, you can jump up and knock it off. I think that would add so much excitement to the NBA, especially at the end of games where you see like Shea shoot a fadeaway and it'll hit the rim 3 or 4 times. Like you can imagine it hits the rim and jumps up, and Wemby just jumps up and smacks it off. I think that would not only force people to like box out and really like attack rebounds. I think it would just be get the bigs involved a little bit more, make them think instead of just sitting under the rim. Um, I think it causes us to offensive rebound a little bit because once it hits the rim, it's live. So someone can go get a rebound and 2 points just off of that. So I think that's one of the rules where I think it would be a lot of fun, especially with the athleticism in the NBA. Like, why not?
Yeah, I love it. And what about to take away? Anything that you're seeing right now that you're like, man, I mean, I guess you could take away that current rule, but like that's more like adding it. So is there anything that
Yeah.
you're seeing right now? You're like, man, they got to stop doing this.
I think the only thing I could think of taking away would be like the ambiguity in the travel. Like you see people do step backs and take 3 steps, or pick up the ball, take 3 steps. I think if they can eliminate that and just make it, you get 2 steps, which obviously they're not going to do because offense is, what sells tickets. So, but I think that sometimes I see even Steph. Sometimes like I look and I'm like, that's a travel, but they're not going to call it because it's Steph Curry. But yeah, I think it's a lot of people like that's a travel, but it's really not because technically in the rules it's not, but it just looks crazy.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head with that word ambiguity. The
Yeah,
gather step and the quick kind of shuffle, and there's just so much, and it's bang bang. And the refs, they don't want to like call travels a lot, especially if superstars have the ball. I think some interesting precedents that were set with guys like Harden and a few
yeah,
others who got so crafty with their footwork that a lot of people are kind of like taking advantage of that going forward. So I
yeah.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially Harden. Harden's was really good at it. Giannis is a master at it now. Like picking the ball up, shuffling his feet, and then taking 2 more steps. It's like they're not gonna call it on them, and it's just tough to officiate.
Yeah. Harden was the guy I feel like that really started manipulating it like a ton.
Yeah,
It was almost frustrating. Like, dude, that guy already took 2 steps. So what are you not
yeah,
on the travel
yeah.
for?
He would dribble, take a step, then take 2 or 3 more to step back. And it's like, as a defender, I know it's annoying because you're like, it's a travel, but eventually they just stopped complaining. It was like, all right, whatever.
Yep. Well, Matt, you did it. You beat the press. Congratulations, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, usually I turn it over, so I'm glad I beat it.
Me too. Me too. It's all good. Um, so, after your collegiate career at Cornell, you ever heard of it? You got to throw that out there. Office fans, thank you. Um, what did the process look like for you deciding to pursue a professional basketball career? Like, did you do pre-draft workouts? Did you know that you wanted to continue? Were you ever close to feeling like you're on the board to getting drafted? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, so I would say kind of midway to end of my senior season was when I kind of knew that I wanted to continue on being a professional basketball player. And obviously, it's tough coming from an Ivy League school, but um, being someone who had a good season, saw my name at like the bottom of draft boards or like right outside the second round, it was appealing. So I actually did do a lot of pre-draft workouts while I was in school. I would leave on the weekends. I remember my first one was with the Raptors, and it was a Friday night. Like, obviously, my friends are partying or whatever. I'm in the house, and I had to wait for them to come pick me up from Ithaca and drive me all the way to Toronto for a workout the next day. So I did a lot of that until I graduated, but I had signed with the agency right after my last game. And then after I graduated, I did a lot of pre-draft stuff in Cleveland, Ohio. I think I had probably 8 or 9 pre-draft workouts, and then obviously you have the actual draft. So around the draft day, your agents are telling you what to expect, and obviously he told me don't expect to be drafted. If you are, then great. But a lot of people toward the end of the second round, they start telling you like we don't want to get drafted because we want to choose where we go.
Mm.
So around mid second round, we knew we're not going to get drafted, so we're going to focus on summer league, and that's when I signed with the Raptors for summer league. Uh, had a pretty decent summer league for a rookie, and then they called me back and wanted to invite me to training camp, and was with 9 to 5 for 2 years.
That's awesome. Yeah, you mean you segue perfectly into our next question about the summer league experience. What's maybe one thing that fans don't know about summer league? I mean, we see like 15 guys on a bench, right? We
Yeah.
think play this guy, play that guy. Me and Brett have tons of opinions about who should be getting some runs, but like, what's something we don't know about summer league?
So I think the main thing is obviously the rotations, like you said. It's a little tougher because you have the first round picks, the second round picks, and a lot of the coaches, most of the time, they don't have much say in who plays. It
Mm.
comes from front office. Like when I was my second time was when Scotty Barnes had just got drafted. So it's like we want Scotty to play majority of the minutes the first 3 games, and then you see a lot of rookies, they shut it down after 2 or 3 games. But then you have the later first rounds, the second rounders, and then the people who are coming back for their second year. Those are the main guys who are going to play the first 2 or 3 games, regardless of if they're playing well, playing bad. But those decisions don't come from the coaches most of the time. They want to play, guys who are doing well in practice or have a reputation of being really good players. So, um, like you said, 17, 18 people, and obviously everyone can't play. But I think the main thing is they have certain guys that they want to see. And then the last 2 games is when the first 2 years for me was, or first year for me was when I really wanted to make a statement. And that's when you see the guys who haven't played, then they play those last 2 games. So a lot of rotations it's tough to crack, and it's a lot of politics going on with it. But at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah. The summer league always has had a lot of hype around it. A lot of people come and watch, and big players will show up, celebrities will show up. Was there a player that played while you were in the summer league that you're like, that guy is going to be really good? Or even, and on the flip side, that guy is not going to be as good as I think people think they're going to be. Yeah.
Whoa, that's a tough question. I would say someone I thought was going to be really good was my teammate Scotty Barnes, and obviously coming out of college, he wasn't Cooper Flag scoring 20s and 30s. He was like a glue guy who did a little bit of everything, but in practice, with us at least, you could see the size, the IQ, the defense, and a lot of people. The first 2 games he getting adjusted to NBA speed. He's not really a shooter like that, so he's not coming off a ball screen shooting. But you can see all the little things he was doing was helping us win. And I think that was one person who I was really impressed with, because Scotty, he is who he is. His personality on and off the court, it didn't change, whether good game, bad game. I think he was one of those type of players, and one that I think not a lot of people knew until he played really well was when I was with the Clippers. His name was Xavier Moon, and he was probably 2 or 3 years in with that system. I think I can't remember exactly, but he went out and just torched people all summer league. Like I think he ended up making second team, but he would have games where he had 20, 30, 22, 23. But he was a quick guard, could shoot, rebounded, athletic. But he was one of my good friends that didn't get a lot of recognition until that year.
Gotcha. So you were with 905 for 2 years in the G League. What's like one of the biggest barriers that's keeping G League players from getting into the NBA?
I think the mentality. I think is the dedication to the grind of the G League, which is a really tough thing to do because obviously when I was there, like the travel isn't what NBA players. You're not chartering everywhere. You're going through airports. Um the stadiums aren't the same. It's a little bit of an upgrade to overseas, in my opinion. Um, but it's just tough because a lot of guys get there and don't have the mentality to play the right way to get out. Like obviously NBA players, they have their superstar. Like, they have Shea, Wemby, Luca. Like, they're not looking for someone to score 40 every night. Like they have that already. So the mentality to do the little things, to rebound, be a good teammate, be a good listener, encourage, learn as much as you can. I think that's the biggest barrier. I think especially for guys who haven't been through it. Obviously, everyone wants to average 30 points a game, but NBA teams, that's not what they're looking for. And I learned that, and that's what one of the decisions and why I ended up going overseas. But at the same time, I think that's one of the things that a lot of G League players they don't quite understand.
And that actually transitions into the next question we had. You mentioned that part of the reason. What were the deciding factors of you going from G League to playing overseas? Like all the intricacies of that.
I think obviously one thing is building your resume. I think I did 1 year with the 905 before COVID happened. it shut my season down early. And then the second year I was in the bubble, shortened season. So like I decided I wanted to build my resume. I wanted to like actually play and be involved. And if I use the right steps, I could use overseas to come back to the NBA. So I think a lot of it had to do with the opportunity to be a main guy on the team and to get back to who I was at Cornell in high school, and use that to get me back to America or use it to get me where I am now in the EuroLeague. Um, and I think a lot of it was, my agent telling me um, the different paths I could take. And ultimately, I chose to go overseas after I think my third time in Summer League, and nothing really came from it except more G League contracts. So that's when I was like, okay, I got to start using my talents while I still have it, while I'm young. I don't have any responsibilities at the moment. So go overseas, start playing, start making some money, and use that to either get me to a higher level here or get me back to the NBA.
Gotcha. You mentioned COVID impacted your career, obviously a lot of people's at that time. Um, did that have any effect on you mentioned that you made a decision with your agent, but were there like lightened restrictions in Europe? Was it easier to like be able to like train and do all those things over there, or was it kind of like phasing out? COVID was this really weird time where some places were taking it a little bit more serious than others, and so it's hard to know exactly like how and where the right place to be during COVID was.
Yeah, I think COVID really hit me the end of my rookie year, which got canceled, and then in the bubble. But when I decided to go overseas, it had kind of phased out a little bit by then. Obviously, people were still taking precautions, but it wasn't how it was when it first happened, where you have to wear a mask everywhere and training with only a certain amount of people in the gym. At that point, when I got to Turkey, everything felt kind of normal, so it didn't really affect me there.
Yeah. Um, so what would you say the biggest differences are when you talk about playing overseas versus play in the league? What's the biggest change in how the game's played and how you play?
I think at the highest level here, the difference between here and the NBA is, I'd say, how much care each possession is, like how much each possession matters. Because we're not scoring 130 points a game. Obviously, we like defense is a real premium over here. Scoring is at a premium, but uh, shortened clock, defensive 3 seconds, all of those things goes into the lower scores that we have here. So I think the IQ of knowing how to attack each possession. um, we got bigs who, hedge out, trap you. Like, it's not always bigs just sitting at the rim waiting, just letting you launch threes. But I think the defensive 3 seconds to me is the biggest thing, because the paint's not just wide open. So obviously in the NBA, you exploit that a lot with driving to the rim. They have to help kick it, and you have open threes or you have layups if they don't. I think here with the defensive 3 seconds, it causes you to think a lot more. And that's where the IQ comes in of, all right, how do we attack to get an easy shot, knowing that someone can sit at the rim, like a Wemby, for example. Like how do we get the best possible points or the easiest points we can get every possession? I think that's a big thing for me, is the difference between the care of each possession here and in the NBA.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, how does living overseas affect your relationships with friends and family? This is probably a little challenging at times.
Yeah, it is tough. I think the time difference is a big thing. Obviously, the different countries have different time differences. So when I was in London, it was only 5 hours, so it wasn't that bad. Usually when I'm going to sleep, everyone's getting off work, so I could communicate until then. But it is tough. Turkey was 8 or 9 hours, so it was very limited time where they could catch me and I could catch them. But I think the main thing is making the time. Like when my parents or my brothers or friends or family call, obviously I'm sitting here and sometimes I'm too tired from after practice or I'm taking a nap, but that might be the only time they can catch me for the next 2 or 3 days. So um, it seems a lot harder than it is, but as long as you make the time, then it's really not that bad.
It's good. So, what are your current ambitions for playing professionally? Like, are you pretty content in Europe, or is there still a dream of making it back to the league?
Yeah, I mean, there's always that dream. I'm still relatively young in basketball, so there is still the dream of making it to the NBA and playing against Steph Curry, LeBron, if he's still playing. Um, but I am content with the career that I've carved out over here. So if the NBA doesn't happen, then I won't be upset. I won't be regretful of anything that I've done because there's a lot of places I live that a lot of people have never been to or dreamed to get to. Like I lived in London for a whole year. I've been to Paris more times than I can count. So I think it's pros and cons with it, but I love living overseas. I enjoy it. It teaches me a lot about myself, learning different cultures and languages and meeting new people. So I think if the NBA doesn't happen, I'll be just fine with where I'm at.
Final question for you, Matt. Would you say that given your time spent overseas now, you would actually recommend that to some guys who aren't sure if that's like a viable option or if that's seen as, let's call it what it is, maybe like a consolation prize or a demotion from what the ultimate dream was? Like you say, hey, actually, it's kind of great over here.
Yeah, I would. I would. There are a lot of my friends that are playing now that were in the NBA and they're like low on the roster where they'll text me and be like, "Hey, how do you like overseas? Like I'm thinking about it." Or my brothers played. I have three little brothers, so they have teammates who are now graduating college and they're deciding whether they want to chase the NBA dream or go overseas. And I tell them all the time. Obviously, it's going to be work. You're not going to get signed to a EuroLeague team immediately, but if you do the right things and take the right steps to get to the highest levels here, it's so worth it. Um, you get to live in another country almost not for free. Obviously, you got to pay for food and groceries and stuff. But when you get to higher levels, they give you cars, they give you housing, you get to travel to different countries. And it's just an experience that's unlike any other, to be honest. I don't regret it at all. And I tell them that all the time. Obviously, it is work. It took me 4 seasons to get three or 4 seasons to get to the EuroLeague. So it's not going to happen instantly. Some people it's a little bit longer. Some people it's right away. But I mean, you can't be traveling to Paris to play a game, and then the next day you go to Munich. Then the next week you go to Valencia, and then Barcelona. It's so worth it that I recommend it to a lot of people that are having that debate with themselves.
Yeah. Well, hey, Matt, it was so great having you on the show today. We appreciate your time and hey, good luck with your career, wherever that's led to. And we'll keep looking for your name on some NBA rosters down the road. But yeah, thanks for coming out. And for all of our people watching, we just asked make sure you give a like and a subscribe if you haven't already done that. And look forward to seeing you guys all again.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. Obviously, thank you for having me. Shout out to Kyle Brown, my guy. But yeah, hopefully one day I'm on an NBA roster. But if not, I'll be over here in Europe. So if, anyone wants to come and visit, please do. I have a lot of recommendations. Trust me.